Hello my friends, my name is Forge and welcome to another video. So Minecraft 1.19.3 is currently the next update to arrive on Minecraft. And today we're going to go over a bunch of features that will be coming within this new update. If you enjoyed this video, then consider subscribing as it helps out quite a bit and shows your support for the channel. Thank you. In 1.19.3, Mojang even included new characters that you can choose from. So Steve and Alex are no longer the main stars. We now have Zuri, Sunny, Nor, McKenna, Kai, Fa, and Ari. Now just by looking at all these characters, they definitely do look pretty cool, and depending on who you are, maybe you'll find a really cool skin to use. But nothing is ever going to beat Steve and Alex. They did introduce some new spawn eggs. We now have a Snow Golem spawn egg, an Iron Golem spawn egg, an Ender Dragon spawn egg, and a Wither spawn egg. These four mobs, they never had a spawn egg, which definitely made things difficult for when you wanted multiple of these mobs. Like take the Iron Golem, Snow Golem, or Wither boss for examples. These were mobs that you had to craft, you wanted multiple of them, or you just had to use a summon command. But now you just have a spawn egg, which is going to make things a lot easier. For the Ender Dragon's case, you can either use a command to get it, or you can go to the end and spawn it by using the end crystals. But yet again, we now have spawn eggs, which is going to make things a lot easier to get these. And apparently, I caused the battle. But however, if you want to get the Ender Dragon or Wither spawn eggs, you cannot find it in spawn egg section. You can only find the Iron Golem and Snow Golem spawn eggs. The Vex has got a new model and a new texture to look a little bit more like the LA. And to be honest, I think it's actually a pretty good model. And in case you want to know what they look like in angry mode, well, this is what they look like. Definitely pretty terrifying. Now if you excuse me, I gotta get out of here before I end up perishing. If I pause the game, go over to options, and I go down to controls, we have this new button which is called Operator Items tab. Whenever I turn this on and I go back to the main game, I open up the inventory, we have this new tab, which is Operator Utilities. And from within here, you can find your command blocks, your minecart with command blocks, your jigsaw structure blocks, got the structural void, the barriers, debug stick, and all of your light blocks. But however, that's only going to show up if you're an operator. If you're not an operator in your world, then you cannot use that tab. They tweaked the Wild Update music to be a little bit quieter, because if you open up the game for the first time without changing any of the settings, then it can be quite loud. But now it should be a little bit quieter. Then we have a change to the publish command. So if I type /publish, then we get two options. We have true or false. Now this means, can you use commands in this world? If you do true, then you can use your commands. But if you do false, you cannot use any command. Then we can choose which game mode do we want to be in. So when other people join your world, are they going to be in adventure mode, creative, spectator, or survival? We got a few new game rules. First up is mob explosion drop DK. By default, it's going to be set to true. So let's say I have this creeper and I explode this creeper. By default, we don't get every block back. Most of the blocks get destroyed in the process. So as you can see, we got 13 sand. But however, if I were to set to false and I repeat the same thing, then we'll get every single one of those blocks back. So let's see how many did we get. So we got a stack and 5. Then we have block explosion drop DK, which is similar to the previous one, but it's going to be for blocks. By default, it's going to be set to true. This is mostly going to be including things like beds or respawn anchors. If I were to explode these 2 blocks, then usually we don't get every block back. It's just like with the creeper explosion. But then if I were to set this to false, then we'll get every single one of those blocks back. We won't lose any of them, which is definitely quite useful for dimensions. And finally, we have one for TNT, but by default, it's gonna be set to false. And that's because if you got TNT and you were to explode it, we'll always get every one of those blocks back. It's not like block or mob explosions. But obviously, by setting this to true, then you will not get all those blocks back. You will always lose some. This was actually how TNT used to behave before they made a change a few updates back. This is what we call an infinite water source, where you have water information like this. If you have an infinite water source, then you can keep getting water out of it, and it's definitely useful. But however, lava does not do the same thing. I always thought to myself that lava needed to be more like water, where we can get infinite amounts of it, because it's definitely frustrating that when you got lava like this and you take lava out, then it doesn't refill again. We have a game rule just for this. We have one for water, and by default, it's going to be set to true. By saying this to false, then we cannot make infinite water sources. It will be just like lava. This can be useful for a challenge map. We also have lava source conversion. By default, it's going to be set to false. But if I were to set this to true, we can now make infinite lava sources. No more of looking for lava. Instead, you can make an infinite lava source. Our final command takes us to the snowy plains and its snow accumulation height. Now usually when it's snowing in your world, the snow can build up a little bit. On Java Edition, it only goes up by 1. But on Bedrock Edition over time, the snow can go higher, up to about a full block. So eventually you can get something like this. And now this feature is also on Java Edition. But however, it's locked behind that command. By default, it's going to be set to 1. But if you want to go higher when snowing, then you can change this anywhere between 0 to 8. 8 being the maximum. And now it can go up to a full block. And as you can see, the snow is now rising up until it gets to a full block. But if you don't want it to rise at all, then you can put this to 0, then none of the snow is going to accumulate. We're even seeing a revamp of the creative inventory. We have brand new categories and even reorganized categories. We now have a category for color blocks, so this is where all the color blocks are going to be organized. We even have a category for spawn eggs, and obviously this is a place where you can find spawn eggs. If you go in building blocks, you're going to notice that's now been freshly organized. Our wooden blocks are going to be on the very top. Going towards the middle, we have our stone blocks, like our deep slate, our andesite, our polished blocks, all that lovely stuff. Going further down, we have our sandstone, our prismarine blocks, then our nether related blocks such as the red nether bricks or even the black stone. Then we have our ender related blocks. We have our mineral blocks and our copper blocks on the very bottom. And just overall, I think this looks so much more organized. The natural blocks have also been reorganized. You'll find all of your plant items. But towards the very top, be all the blocks that make up your world, such as your grasses, your dirts, and even your stones. Then we have functional blocks, which on the very top you'll find your most used items such as torches and lanterns. You can also find your villager workstations. Going further down, you've got your signs, and eventually you find your shulker boxes, your beds, and your candles. In the middle, you'll find your shulker boxes, your beds, and your candles. Then towards the very bottom, you will find all of your mob heads and your infested stones. Moving on from there is the redstone tab, where you will find all of your redstone items. So on the very top, you find your most used items, such as redstone dust, the redstone torches, and even comparators and repeaters. Going towards the middle, you'll find your minecarts, and on the very bottom, you will find your doors, trapdoors, and other items. The next up is tools and utilities, which is where you find all your tools, like pickaxes, shovels, axes, or even hoes. Towards the middle, you'll find your buckets. Then going further down, you will find your firework rockets, but you don't just have one rocket, but you have all 3 flight durations. Then you'll eventually find your boats, and on the very bottom, you have your minecarts, your goat horns, and your music discs. The next up is combat, which is where you find your swords, your armors, and other combat related items. Then next up is food and drinks, which is where you can find all of your food and your potions. But however, I think that there needs to be another tab. Because when you think about things like potions, I mean, I get it, they are drinks technically, but when you really think about it, do they deserve their own tab? I definitely think so. And maybe within this tab, you may also find end crystals, maybe you find beacons, brewing stands, or other magical items. This will just be classified as a magic tab, which will contain all magical items. And then our final tab is ingredients, which will contain a lot of the crafting ingredients that we use every single day. And you'll even find things like your dyes, your brewing ingredients, and even your enchanted books. Yet again, with the magic tab, these would fit perfectly within there, especially for the bottle of enchanting. Like seriously, am I the only one that's thinking that? And they've even made it a lot easier to get the monster spawner by placing it on the very top. That also made a small change to when you place it down, it no longer has a mob inside of it by default. So now when you place it down, it's going to be completely empty. And if you don't know if you grab any spawn egg, then you interact with the spawner, then you can change the mob inside there. Before this update, it would have looked like this. Next up, we're going to go over another new command that's going to be coming in 1.19.3. And this new command is called Fillbiome. So in previous updates, the only way to change your biomes underworld would be by using the likes of World Edit or maybe MC Edit. So you no longer need to use an external program if you want to change your biome inside the game. So right now we're currently inside of a plains biome, and over there is a forest biome. We're going to change a certain spot in between the two biomes. So let's type out Fillbiome and then our coordinates, and we're going to need to choose the next positioning. And then we're going to input our second coordinates, and then the moment I press space, we need to choose which biome. So in this case, I want to change this to Badlands. And the moment I press enter, then the grass is going to immediately change. So you can immediately notice that we are inside of a Badlands biome. So let's say you wanted your world to look like it's in the fall. Well, this would be perfect for that, because it's going to make the leaves get a brownish color and the grass a brownish color as well. But however, you can also replace biomes. So in this case, I want to change this to a bamboo jungle. So I'm going to type Minecraft bamboo jungle replace, and we're going to replace the Badlands. And once I press enter, then the grass is going to get a lot greener. So if I were to click F3, so right there it says our biome is plain. But if I go forward a little bit more, then we're now in the bamboo jungle. Next up, let's go over to the options and let's select accessibility. So inside the accessibility settings, we've got a new option for the panorama scroll speed. So by default, it's going to be at 100%, and this is what it looks like. But if I don't want it scrolling at all, then I can set that to 0, then it's going to be a still image. But to be honest, this is kind of boring, and that looks so much better. There's also the introduction of telemetry data. Now all this does is really gives Mojang just a little bit more insight about your game, like your IDs, your game version, and all that kind of stuff. But it really shouldn't affect your gameplay whatsoever, so this just gives Mojang just more data. But you can choose if you want the collection to be minimal or all of your data. So this is just going to help Mojang improve Minecraft just a little bit further. And along with everything else, there's also been a bunch of technical changes that has been included within this update. If you guys want to read up on that stuff, then there will be a link in the description to the changelog. But as far as everything else goes, that's actually it for everything in 1.19.3. I know that this is a fairly small update, but it does introduce some good quality of life features, such as the revamped creative inventory, and I definitely love the fact that we have an operator tab, which lets us find command blocks and life blocks just so much easier. But down below in the comments, go let me know what you think of this update, and are you ready for 1.19.3? And pretty soon, I will be making a video where I talk about the 1.20 features that have been introduced so far. And to make sure you never miss an upload, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you guys enjoyed today's video, then please do consider leaving a like. But for now, I will catch you next time. Goodbye.